want to thank you for joining us. I'm Brian Lacey, and it's that time of the year. By that time of the year, I mean hurricane season. And joining us from Polk County Emergency Management, talk a little bit about our special needs shelters, is Jana Nickles. Jana is the special needs coordinator. Welcome to the show, Jana.
Thank you.
And also Brian Thurston. He is an emergency management program manager. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
All right, Jana, I want to talk a little bit about, tell me a little bit about your background in emergency management. What exactly does the job entail, and how long have you been there?
I have been there since July of 22. I came from Health and Human Services, where I was a shelter manager during Irma, which we were really busy in Irma.
Brian, talk to me a little bit about your background, the job that you have, and what you specialize in.
Okay. So I've been here in Polk County for about a year, just a year, a couple weeks ago actually. My background is I was in the fire service up in the state of Michigan for a few years. And so I've been through the position of fire chief. I did emergency management responsibility up in Michigan, and so I've been around a little while. Here in Polk County, my job is, as the emergency management program manager, is I provide assistance to the employees that work with us that have very specific titles and positions and functions for preparation for Polk County in case of any kind of emergency, be it weather or technological, man-made, anything to that effect.
Well, one of the things that we know that emergency management does, no matter what the situation, like Brian said, whether it be hurricane, tornado, floods, anything like that, you guys are at the center of our response unit. And the big thing that we need to talk about today is during hurricanes. Now, Jana, if you could, talk to me a little bit about a shelter, and then what I'd like you to do is go into more in depth as to special needs shelter, because we've got a lot of brand new people to the community and maybe not aware of what a hurricane can do, but explain what a shelter is and what a special needs shelter is.
The special needs shelter is for people who need oxygen, who need electrical for their electrical dependent for oxygen, or they're electrical dependent for their medications to go in the refrigerator. We have nurses on hand for people who maybe have dementia. We have special rooms for our dementia patients. We have nursing for maybe wound care, for dialysis. We have where we have them, they get their dialysis first and then they come to the shelter. We provide transportation to people who do not have transportation.
I want you to talk a little bit as a former shelter supervisor, coordinator, everything like that. Explain what shelter life is like, because I think people have a concept of what they think it should be like, but explain to them what they should expect.
When you come in and you register, or if you're pre-registered, then you they'll put you in, they'll go through the placement nursing, they'll check, make sure what your medicines are, what size cot you need, and then they place you in the building. Our schools are in this gym, and our health department is down our hallways during an HHS, which is Health and Human Services area. And they, if you're not registered, then they will register you right there, get you in for safety. Once the hurricane is coming, then we shut the shutters, or we shut the doors. People can't get out. They are hurricane buildings, so you're safe.
What I want you to do is explain to me the importance of registering early for the special needs shelters.
Yes, our shelters fill up fast, and we do have capacity. So if you go to our website, polk-county.net, you go to special needs shelter, you can pre-register there. There's a link that'll take you right to the state registry, and you can register there. And then it asks you about your medical conditions. It asks you about if you're on oxygen, how much oxygen you are, what your liter is. So we're prepared, and we know if you have to be in this setting or a different setting. If you may not be in a setting right for you. You may need to be at the hospital, or you may be able to go to the general population shelters. Or if you have pets, there's pet shelters in Polk County for you to be able to have your pets.
Now, Brian, as a coordinator with all the moving parts within the entity in and of itself, talk to me. I mean, there are a lot of moving pieces that once this storm comes to an area, and then we have to start getting the residents in to the shelters. We've talked with Citrus Connection, who is a great partner of Polk County Emergency Management, and getting them in. Talk a little bit about those partnerships and what it takes to get all this orchestrated chaos. Because I mean, it's really it's for their safety, but there's a lot of moving parts to it. If you could.
Oh yeah, our biggest partner when it comes to the shelters is the school system. We couldn't do this without the schools. I mean, there's no other way of putting it. The schools are really very helpful. They're very accommodating for what our needs are with the citizens. And what will happen is there'll be a decision made if the shelters are going to open. And once that decision is made, then the school staff will staff their facilities. We will provide them whatever assistance they would require from us, be it water, food, whatever supplies they would need. We'd put in a request for them to get that. We would make sure that the sheriff department has been notified, because everybody that comes into the shelter is going to go through a check to determine if they're, for a better term, is a sexual predator. We are not allowing, or the sheriff department does not allow sexual predators in to the general population or the special needs shelters. And so anybody that's brought in, they need to understand that the sheriff department only screens for them being a sexual predator. They don't check for warrants. They don't check for anything to that effect. And that's a misnomer. A lot of people think they're going to do, you know, and I got a warrant or whatever, and I can't go in there. Well, that's not how it works. They do have a facility or a location at the jail where they will actually allow people that do have are on the registry for sexual predator, that they will go there. They aren't locked up, but they're put in a protective area so that they're protected from the storm when they get into that. When it comes to transportation, most people at the general population shelters are going to be transporting themselves. And so it is important that people bring the supplies that they're going to need with them to the shelters. So bedding, anything that they're basically going to want for the next few days. Jana has a great saying she always says. What is that, Jana?
It's not a cruise. We're not on a cruise ship. This is just a lifeboat. Yeah. So, you know, so you need to bring 7 days worth of medicine, 3 days change of clothes. If you have an oxygen concentrator, please bring it. Please bring jackets. It is very cold in the shelter. If you have a pillow you want to use, please bring it. Maybe a blanket. You know, because like I said, it does get chilly in the shelters.
Brian, I want you to touch on the importance. We had a situation a few years ago that we do have pet-friendly shelters, but you can't have it's not a dog park. You know what I mean? Right. Talk about the responsibility of the owner taking care of the animal in and of itself too, please.
Well, when they get to the pet-friendly shelters, they just aren't running. Right? They're going to be secured. They're going to be kept in a segregated area, and basically for the owner, they'll check on their animal. They'll, provide what assistance they need for the animal during the time that it's available. But it's not like the dog's going to be sitting there, or the cat, or the hamster, or whatever happens to be. It's not going to be sitting on their lap with them while they're laying on their mattress or whatever it happens to be. And so that's something that can be a challenge for some people.
Yeah.
But they need to understand, because there are going to be so many different pets that could be at some of these shelters.
Brian, one other thing about the pet shelters. Are there any special things that the residents should know about taking their animals to the pet shelter?
Well, when they take their animal to the shelter, they need to have them in a pet carrier. They need to have, or if they have a crate, they need to bring the crate with them. The animal needs to be up on its latest vaccines. Okay. If there's any special dietary needs, they need to bring that. Any bowls, any special toys, something of that effect that's going to keep the animal somewhat entertained.
Jana, one thing that's in the toolbox of Polk County Emergency Management is our citizens information line. Explain that real quick, if you would.
When we open up the shelters, when we become activated, we open up our phones to the citizens. That number is 863-298-7500. You can call that number. They will give you information on what shelters are open in your area. They will also give you information about sandbags. Any information you need about the upcoming hurricane, you can call our citizens line and they can give you that information.
In talking with Citrus Connection and the thing that they said and that all of our public safety professionals always say, that the time to make a plan isn't 6 to 8 hours before it arrives.
No.
There's only going to be one last chance. Explain the importance of preparation, and especially if they are going to depend on Citrus Connection of, listen, this is the last time that this goes out. Because explain what happens when the winds get over 40 mile an hour, or 30 or 20, even, no matter what the winds are. Explain that too, please.
So the big issue is that people need to prepare now. They don't need to wait. They need to be prepared now. They don't, if you wait until something shows up on the radar or the news is saying, you need to go to shelter and stuff, you're too late. The state has a big thing they talk about with fuel tanks. Half a tank is halfway there. And that's important. Keep fuel in, make sure people have their supplies. If they're going to ride out a storm, they need to make sure they have supplies to be dependent for 7 days. And if there's a situation where they can get to people earlier and provide a service and provide utilities, so on, that's going to be there. Okay. When it comes to things like Citrus Connection and high-profile vehicles, once it gets windy, the vehicles can't travel, and that becomes a major issue with that. And unfortunately, a lot of people wait till the end, and then they're knocking on the doors of the shelters, or they're at the last moment because they made a last-minute decision. A lot of people say, "Oh, this is no big deal. I can ride it out," and then the reality is, they decide, maybe I need to go someplace. And so it is important that people make the decision early. If they're going to relocate, that they need to do that earlier than later. We've all seen the news reports with all the traffic jams and all the issues of people going north, south, depending on where they're at, and to seek shelter, to evacuate. It's important that they have a plan.
Brian, I want you to talk about, we've got great community partners, and every year we put out a shelter map, and this year's color is orange. So talk a little bit about our community partner in Publix and what they will find on the shelter maps that are distributed.
Okay, so we work with Publix, and they help publish and distribute maps. They're available at the Publix stores in both English and Spanish. And what they're going to show is they're going to show the locations and the types of shelters for that location. So there are 3 pet-friendly shelters, and those pet-friendly shelters will show with a paw, and they have like a dog paw on the map. There are 3 special needs shelters, and they'll show on the map in the guidance there of a heart. And then the others are general population shelters. There are 48 shelters currently that are listed on the map, and so you'll see that information there. The key, or the thing that's extremely important with the shelters, is they need to verify that the shelter is open before they go to it. And that is extremely important. And that's available on the EOC website. And if you follow the link into it, and you follow down through, you will find where it has the map on there, and it will list what shelters are open.
Jana, as we said, Citrus Connection plays a major role in our hurricane preparation efforts. And one thing that's important is the call down. Talk to me a little bit about that.
So we call all of our residents that are in the special needs registry. Right now we have like 1,800 people that are pre-registered for our shelters, the special needs shelters. We call all of them. We see if they still want to go to the shelter, if they need transportation to the shelter. Then we gather all that information, and then we give it over to Citrus Connection, who will call them, they route their routes, and then they will call them and let them know, give them a 4-hour window on what time they're going to be picked up.
I'm going to give you the last word on this. Explain the importance of preparation and being registered long before the storm hits.
Well, if you are pre-registered, then you automatically get that call from the call down. You're automatically, if you need transportation, is there. We know your medical conditions. We know if we have to put which shelter we need to put you in by your address, because we have three special needs shelters. One's in Bartow, one's in Davenport, and then we have Tenor Rock High School, which is new this year, and that is in Lakeland.
Well, Jana and Brian, I want to thank you for coming on, joining me, all the great information, and hopefully I don't get to see you this year. Yeah. I say that all the time, but I don't mean that mean, but yeah. Hopefully we don't have to see each other. Maybe next year at this time. It'll be a great idea. What do you say?
Yeah, no more hurricanes.
Thanks for coming in today.
Thanks.
Thank you.
A special needs shelter is an emergency facility capable of providing special medical or nursing care, which does not necessitate an acute care hospital setting. Those eligible and desiring special needs shelters should pre-register with emergency management. A special needs shelter is a temporary emergency facility capable of providing care to residents whose medical conditions may require the use of electrical equipment, oxygen, dialysis, or individuals with physical, cognitive, or medical conditions who may require assistance from medical professionals. Now, if you need more information, please go to polk-county.net or give them a call, 863-298-7027. If you enjoyed that episode of Polk Place, I invite you to like, share, and subscribe to the channel, and even check out the next one.